Hey guys, Mike here. So another day in the market, another all-time high on the S&P and the Qs, and we'll see how many days in a row I get to say that. But of course, it was barely green because you had Papa Powell up there, speaking in front of Congress, testifying. It was just a dog and pony show. That's all it was. It was nothing new coming out. It was just each side trying to attack the other and attack him and asking about stuff he literally has nothing to do with. And so that was kind of funny to watch. But, when we're looking at what's going on in the market now, I'm going to show you something you're definitely seeing, especially on these mega caps. But I'm also going to show you something, believe it or not, is actually very important to see heavy concentration in the market. What do I mean by that? I'm going to show you a chart to show you when we perform at our best, and of course what big money is doing. And I'm telling you now, I'm putting out a video next week. I'm on vacation next week. There'll be videos coming out. They're already put out, but there's one in particular extremely important that you watch it. Okay, it can probably, if you're a long-term investor, it'll make your life a whole lot easier, to be honest with you. All right, and so one of the viewers and one of the members pointed some out to me, and so I said, I'm gonna research this, dig into it, and it was unbelievably eye-opening. So I appreciate them for that, and I don't get shocked very often, but it shocked me, okay? And so I'm going to get into that right now, and then we'll go through a few other charts and everything. But when you can see this right here, this is important. This right here is the top 10 stocks as a percentage of S&P market cap, okay? Now, we talked about this many times. That's where we're at now, right? Never been this high before. It keeps going up and up and up, right? But when you go back over in history and start looking, you can see back in the 70s, right? Same thing. They had like Nifty 50 and all these different kind of names for these different kind of stocks, but the top 10 stocks. Look when it went down though, okay? That's important to understand that, because what we're going to do is pull up right there above. This is the S&P right here, all right? You can see this. Now, go down. If you look over here, it's coming down. That concentration is coming down. What happens to the market? It basically is in a range for over a decade, right? Look what happens when it's coming back up though, the concentration in those basically bigger stocks. It's going up. We're going on a nice run heading into the dot-com bubble. Then look at this. It goes down. This is dot-com bubble all the way 2011, 12, somewhere in there. So basically you get almost 12 years, and you can see where the tops are, right, before you really start to break out. And why does it break out? Look down at the bottom, and you go, okay, it's starting to really move up. That concentration is starting to really move up. And look what happens. We go on the greatest bull run in history, because this is when Microsoft and Apple and all of them, the Mac 7 were born and everything else. Look what big money's doing last week. Just loading $8.35 billion in large caps, sold almost the same amount of mid caps, sold the small caps, putting a little bit of money in the broader market, but it was all about these large caps. Which large caps do you think it was? Right? That's a good question. And you can see big money and these hedge funds, man, they're trying their best to pump, man. I mean, they gave NVIDIA another price upgrade from 130 to 180. You go over here, you got AMD actually got a downgrade from 230 to 220. Piper Sandler increases Apple from 190 to 225. And there is many of these that were being handed out like candy today, right? Also, you got NVIDIA stock jumps after analysts forecast $200 billion in AI chip sales next year. So trust me, they were in full pumpy pump mode, right? I haven't brought this thing out in a while, but they were pumping and pumping. I mean, it was crazy. And the price upgrades were just unbelievable. That Key Bank or whoever that is, like, they were just handing them out, baby. Here's candy. Here you go. Free samples. You want a price upgrade? You get a price upgrade. You get a price upgrade. It's like Oprah or something, right? Now, looking at Tesla here, congratulations. It actually got back in the top 10, and it has been a long time. If we zoom in, you can see it. I got to be honest with you, I didn't even realize Taiwan Semiconductors was actually at number 8 right there. But, again, they were hitting all-time highs too. They've been getting pumped like crazy. And so they're back into it. And you can see, obviously, why the concentration of the top 10 is so heavy when it comes to market cap, right? Because now you have $3 trillion companies, all right, which is nuts. And I don't know how many, what is it, trillion, like 5, 6, 7 trillion dollar companies there is. And of course, what Tesla do today, we marked out this level right here yesterday around 263, 265. It hit it, went right above it, got to the 0.79 Fibonacci level right there, which is a big retracement back up from where we drew this. And so then it started to kind of cool off after that, which is what we would expect when you hit major levels like that. And that's where we drew the fibs from. The last time we touched it on the top of that trend line, and then the bottom right there. And so, what's going to happen? Well, the next levels are already marked out for you right above it. You can see right there, which we'll discuss in a minute. But I'm also going to mark this out. This is a gap right here, because Tesla loves to fill gaps. And so there's a gap right there, which also coincides like right above that 278 area right there. So I think the gap fills around 283, I think it is. And so, we'll keep that if this thing continues to pump, because remember, it's a lot of calls are being sold. I think it's the 270s for sure. A lot of those are being sold, 290s. I even saw a $7 million call option. I think it was the 290 call, I believe it was, that they bought. And so again, if this decides to cool off and finally start to actually, come down a little bit from profit taking or just consolidating stuff, as long as it stays above that trend line, somewhere around between 234 to 237, everything's good to go. I mean, this has been a crazy, crazy move up. And what you cannot forget also as this run up happens is they have earnings coming up very, very soon. All right. And even if it dropped down, well, that's 10%, guys. The thing has gone up massively. So that is nothing of a drop. And here's your earnings. Earnings are going to come out July 23rd. So, coming out pretty soon right here. We'll see if it continues to run up into the earnings. I think a lot of people are getting worried now. They sold the 270 calls thinking it wouldn't get to 270, so they wouldn't lose their shares. Maybe they're right, because you look at the RSI, my lord. I mean, the thing is at 90 right now, and it's gone as high as, I believe, 94 is the highest it's ever gone when it was getting crazy back now, like 2020 and 2021. But it's up there. It is up there. And so eventually, yes, gravity takes effect on all these stocks. It took effect on NVIDIA. Takes a while. And so, I say just watch the options market more than anything else when it comes to Tesla to see what's happening. When you see all those calls being sold, there is a good chance you at least get some consolidation, if not a small pullback. Now, Meta, this one right here is doing a retest of the previous all-time high once it caught fire right there. And, understand, I'm going to show you this on a lot of these. It's not just a Meta thing, but this volume. I mean, these moves that we're seeing on volume decreasing, eventually that usually catches up. Either the volume catches up and people start FOMOing in and pushing them higher, or you end up getting a rollover in a lot of these stocks because nobody's coming in to buy them anymore. Okay, so just watch this one, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's not a Meta thing. It's all these big mega caps for sure, and you can see it on the volume right there for sure. It's been declining on this move up, especially once it got to all-time highs. But if it has a successful retest and bounces tomorrow, again, they can keep pushing this up. Once it gets back to a new all-time high, there is no resistance up there, okay? If we do, maybe in a week or two or whatever, start finally getting a roll over, then I always look, where's liquidity at? Well, there's one right there. That's a weekly fair value gap. That'd be a great spot. What else do I see here? Man, it was like a trend line right here, right? Again, you look at that volume on the weekly chart, you can clearly see as this move's been going up, that volume's getting less and less and less and less and less, right? And so again, that trend line would obviously coincide somewhere close to that weekly fair value gap, which where you expect to bounce. I mean, it has to be the bottom, but that'd be a decent move down. And also, if we go back and actually look even more detail, something else that's going to line up in there is going to be the moving averages are going to be somewhere in that area, the 50 and the 100, depending on if that would be, about a week or two, it'll still be underneath that trend line. So again, if that happens, this has been a stronger name, right? Like all of these, they keep pushing into it. It just shows you where they keep buying, right? You look at Apple though. Look at this volume. Huge move up on Apple. The volume just continues to decrease right there. Again, it set a new all-time high again today. What is it? I think 5 days in a row now. 4 days in a row. It set a new all-time high now. And so, and what happens is, again, either more money starts flowing in, right? People start FOMOing in, or eventually it starts to roll over. And you can clearly see that volume down there. This is on the weekly right here. Huge move up and just boom. I mean, every week just less and less and less and less. All right. And you look to the left, it's below where, a normal average was now. And so, it's something to keep an eye on. All I'm doing is making you aware of this, of course. You see a lot of this on RSI divergence, but it can go on for a while. That's why you're seeing it. Okay, you can look over here at Microsoft. Same thing. I mean, that one's pretty. Look at last week's weekly volume. Look at that drop off. Holy moly! Yeah, look at what happened. It gapped up, right? So that's an amazing thing to see. That's why I personally, I know a lot of people look at volume. I look at it when it gets extreme because people say, "Oh, the volume's starting to drop off." Well, the volume's been dropping off, right, for weeks, right? I mean, look, it's just stair-stepping its way down, going over, not even weeks, but months. And the thing continues to go up, okay? And so that's why a lot of people look at volume. But again, volume, RSI divergences, all that stuff are great to know and be aware of, but they can go on for a long time. Now, Amazon, I know this one was frustrating for a lot of people here. because this is its most bullish week over the last 12 years. Why is that? Pause this. Can anybody tell me why this is the most bullish week for Amazon? And it's clearly got to do with Amazon Prime Week. Usually they're around the 15th, 16th, somewhere in this area during this week. And this one, though, that 200 level is like a brick wall. It broke above for about 10 minutes there, I believe, and it just keeps hitting it and hitting it and hitting it and just cannot stay above it. If it ever really does, then obviously you can get a nice big move up on this. But it's amazing to see. I'll show you what amazing about it, because you get, man, this ain't a perfect ascending triangle coming up here where you're getting higher lows and it just keeps tapping on that wall right there. Normally you get a big explosive move up, which still is in the cards, right? That's what you think. It's just wedging tighter and tighter. But what really amazed me was, unlike the other stocks, right, they got price upgrades and stuff, Amazon, they were trying. The institutions were trying, man. They put, Roth, MKM, whoever that is, says still a buy rating, $210 a share. Here comes Jeffries going, no, we're going to raise ours from 225 to 235, and the stock still could not stay above 200, right? And so that's an amazing thing. Let me know if you're playing Amazon for Amazon Prime Week here. A few others, though, some fintech, Sofi. Whether you want to call this a large falling wedge right there, or we want to zoom in here and say, well, let's go a smaller time frame here, it's 2024, and say, this pattern normally breaks the upside, but it is just wedging tighter and tighter and tighter. And what's it wedging into? Earnings, right? So it's going to have earnings, and this is, again, this chart has been destroyed is what this thing's been. But you can see, anytime it usually gets in this pattern, you see it 4 separate times over here, it has a very big move up. A lot of times these do coincide with their earnings. Also come into a weekly fair value gap right here, coincide with earnings as well. And so you could see a nice move up. And one thing to do with Sofi here is, you can bring up the volume profile on this one, and you can kind of see where it's going to run into trouble, right? Where it's running into trouble many times, or the resistance right there. Like, not 785, but somewhere around 735. I'm even going to move my trend line down right here, the resistance line right here. So, 735 is where you can get to. Now, again, even if you just get to 735, and this thing continues to wedge down into earnings, like that don't like much of a move, but this thing's been destroyed so much, that's like a 20% move. And so, again, it would require, I think, good earnings or decent earnings, and them to show something they're going to be doing, right? But that's something to look at right there on Sofi. Also, if you sit here and bring in the moving averages, that lines up with that resistance line too, right? So that's going to be a problem as well, unless it gaps above all that, which, we've seen these stocks do that and stuff, but just been hammered dog meat right here, along with all the other fintechs, right? Now, you can look at Square, another fintech, another falling wedge, right? See, this thing's pretty popular. And, looking at this one, when you actually come in a little differently at it, and you say, okay, they got also earnings on August 1st, okay? Sofi's the 30th of July. But you look, you can clearly see there's a trend right here, right? We draw a trend line here. It's actually broken above this trend line, trying to test it, trying to hold it today, as you can see. And so this one's got what? We're talking 3 more weeks before. You look at the RSI, looks like it's trying to curl up right here. Still needs to get above that 50 line right there. And so some love trying to come into this one. But again, we've seen this with PayPal many times. We've seen this with Square many times, and it's guilty until it's not. That's just the way it is. But both of these seem to be trying to build up some form of momentum, or setting up for some kind of big momentum move if earnings come in okay. Again, it needs to get above that 0 line for the bigger moves. That's when bulls become back in charge. Right now, bears are still in charge of this one. All right, so just kind of make that aware. Again, you'll have all these moving averages. There's going to be resistance coming up here. And so, fintech eventually one day, maybe it's going to take rate cuts. Maybe it's going to take the prospect of rate cuts, because that's happened in the past, right, to move up. That's why PayPal and Square and Sofi has had big moves, because they're going to cut rates, and they really need that, right? Now, looking at Bitcoin real quick, and I kind of showed this to members. It's trying to look bullish right here, as you can see, with a nice W pattern. Let me change this out real quick. And, the big thing is at 200, right? We had 2 rejections off of it. If it gets back above the 200, especially on a daily close, and right here at that level, then right around 58.7, I believe that is, then yeah, that's super bullish. And then if that happens, obviously we can continue to move up, and Bitcoin can move fast. It's all about momentum with this one. And so if that happens, especially if you get a retest on 200, you can hit 63, 64 pretty quickly on this one. We've seen it. Again, I swear to God, the biggest moves seem to happen on the weekends, which we're not there yet. But again, that's, you know, what I see in Bitcoin. Let me know what you see on that one. But if it rejects off that 200 again, you know, then that's not good. All right. Now, tomorrow, Fed Chair Powell will testify again at 10 a.m. for another circus. And then you'll have a, you know, oil inventory at 10:30, and then a 10-year bond auction at 1 o'clock. And you also will have other members speaking from the Fed. We'll see what they're trying to put out there and stuff. I mean, it's the same thing. We need data to show that inflation is going down. And that'd be interesting because if you look at the last inflation readings around the globe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Canada's increase. Mexico just put those out yesterday. Theirs increased. I thought the report out of Europe said theirs increased as well, or maybe it was Australia, because I think they had cut rates too. Theirs increased too. So, you know, we'll have to see. And it's kind of a low bar because remember, we got our CPI coming out on Thursday. And so I think it's 3.1 if I'm not mistaken, which, I mean, they're trying to get down there. And the lower the numbers get, you know, again, I know everybody thinks they're manipulated, and who knows, they probably are. But the lower the numbers get, harder it's going to be to hit the numbers. But if it does hit it or come in under, you know, usually the market reacts pretty dang good, especially like the small cap and all that stuff, because the 10-year, the yields and stuff drop, right, dramatically. So you can see that if it comes in above or hot, then, you know, all bets are off on that one. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Please hit that like, subscribe button if you can. I really appreciate it. I'm going to sign up for the membership, less than McDonald's combo. Write down in the comments, just hit the link. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.